Hello, and welcome to the Art of Selection. Our topic for today is employee selection for managerial positions. The success of many of today's organizations depends more on human assets than on physical or financial assets. Good hiring creates a solid foundation for effective performance. Without the right people in the right positions, neither an organization nor its individual units can perform exceptionally. Before we begin, it's important that we differentiate between recruitment and selection. Recruitment is the process of generating the pool of applicants that should then apply to an organization, whereas selection is where managers use a variety of techniques to choose a person that is most likely to succeed in a particular role. Our guest today is Juliet, an HR consultant from a well-known organization. She's going to take us through the selection process in practice. Juliet, thank you for accepting our invitation and welcome.
Thank you.
Now tell us, what does effective employee selection mean for your organization?
Well, for our organization, effective employee selection means selecting the right candidate for the job at the right time for the right price.
And why is it so important to select the right person for the job?
We drive a high-performance culture in our organization, and it's important that whoever we select is able to deliver on the requirements of the job, but also influence the team culture and performance of the team.
And then who gets involved in the selection process within your organization?
A prospective employee will go through various batteries of tests, and all these are administered by various people throughout the process. So the ultimate decision is the line managers. However, a prospective employee will touch base with many people during the process.
And tell me, how does the selection process for a managerial position differ to that of other roles?
The competency dictionary that we use for managers is different from the one that we use for other employees, in that it is more complex and deals with more managerial competencies.
How effective do you think your selection criteria have been?
I'd like to believe that it is very effective. However, it could do with more psychometric testing.
And what percentage of your recruits would you consider to be successful, and how would you measure that success?
Although I cannot pinpoint on a specific percentage, measuring this would be the number of employees or the percentage of employees that get rated A, B, or B plus in the first 18 months of being employed with us.
And finally, what are those key principles that you never compromise on when selecting your candidate?
For me, fairness is key. Consistency is very important, and also remaining professional throughout the process. It is critical for us that to understand that whoever we come into contact with is a brand ambassador, whether we employ them now or we don't employ them and employ them only at a future time.
That's a highly commendable approach. Thank you, Juliet, for sharing those insights with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Let's have a look at how employee selection can affect a firm's performance by analysing the costs of bad hiring decisions. When a weak employee is brought into an organisation, there is an impact on the business, on management, and on people. On the business side, there is a risk of lost productivity. A poor hire may produce between 25 and 60% less than a top performer. The customer's attitude is affected when they deal with a weak employee, which measurably reduces customer satisfaction and sales and increases customer turnover. There are also increased error rates. On the management side, weak hires are high maintenance, requiring more management time. There is also the added burden of staff requiring performance management and finally generating termination costs. Then there is the manager multiplier effect. Jeff Ogilvy sums it up that if each of us hires people who are smaller than we are, we become a company of dwarfs. But if each of us hires people who are bigger than us, we become a company of giants. On the people side, more training is required. And ultimately, there is increased employee turnover, which results in additional hiring costs, reduced employee morale, and more time wasted in getting the new staff members up to speed. So, how do we demonstrate how employee selection follows through to the bottom line? When strong people are hired, the quality of products and services improves, their innovative ideas generate growth, which results in increased customer satisfaction and a profitable and sustainable organization. When unsuitable people are hired, the quality of products and services deteriorates, resulting in increased operational losses, shrinkages of the organization's customer base, and ultimately the demise of the organization. Let's have a look at an example where employee selection failed. This week's profiler is on a man named David Edmondson, former CEO of Radio Shack, a multi-million-dollar electronics retailer. Joined Radio Shack in 1994 as the Vice President of Marketing, later went on to become CEO in 2006. During 2006, the Star-Telegram reported that he had lied on his resume when he stated that he possessed 2 degrees when in fact he never graduated. It was further reported that he had been acquitted of 2 DUIs and was currently awaiting a court date for a 3rd. His incompetence and inexperience led to an approximate loss of $100 million and sent the share price plummeting by 8%. So, in this example, how did the selection process fail? Well, firstly, no background checks were performed to detect the criminal charges. Secondly, no confirmation checks were performed to identify the fake qualifications. Thirdly, was this a case of the Peter Principle? Promoting technical employees to managerial roles may lead to incompetence. Let's have a look at some best practice. Selecting the right person for the job has never been so valuable in the past as it is today. Before initiating the selection process, the external and internal environments need to be considered. In the external environments, the labour market and legal framework need to be taken into account. In South Africa, we need to comply with the Employee Equities Act and take note of the presence of labour movements such as COSATU. In the internal environment, we need to look at the size and type of the organisation, the speed of its decision making, the nature of the applicant pool, and the selection methods that are available and best suited to the specific circumstances. The best practice approach for selecting managers starts with getting interest from the job applicant pool. Thereafter, the hopeful candidates go through pre-employment screening and fill in application forms that contain role-specific questions. Successful applicants are then invited to be interviewed. The interviewer may choose from a number of interview types depending on the nature and seniority of the role. Psychometric tests are used to evaluate the candidate's skills or personality types. Background checks are key, as an employee's past behavior is the best indicator of future behavior. Medical checks may also be requested for jobs that require a certain level of fitness. There may be a further interview before the job offer is made. Thank you for joining us. I hope that you can now see how the success of a business and human resource strategy depends highly on the quality of the managers identified in the selection process.